Breakfast is the most important meal of the day, since without it, you die. That's like science, last I heard. And science is never wrong, so you can't refute it. However, since most of the population refuses to simply eat fruits like normal people, they have had to resort to something more sugary and unhealthy. That's when some lad was like, I don't know, what if we create like cereal or some shit? And then everyone's cheeks clapped and cereal was born. But there was a problem there. Of course. They had made too many types and people couldn't tell their Frosties from their Cocoa Pops. So then they asked the same brilliant mind behind the original idea, and he said, what if we made like commercials? And yet again, clapping cheeks. Commercials, of course, were designed to help sell products, and so no one needed to think anymore. So if that cartoon toucan thinks these radioactive homosexual Cheerios are safe for consumption, he's probably right. Why bother arguing, especially since no one else was an animated tropical bird? I know I'm not. I'm just a cartoon rabbit in a leather jumpsuit. But the best commercials ever created for the intention of selling breakfast came from Apple Jacks. Apple Jacks debuted in 1965 thanks to the efforts of William Philly under the name Appleos, then Apple Jacks with an X in 1971. As was the latest cool kid trend of the time. And according to Kellogg's themselves, are crunchy, sweetened, multigrain cereal with apple and cinnamon. Cinnamon? Let's get one thing clear right off the bat, and trust me, this will shock everyone, but I have never eaten Applejack cereal.
You're a monster!
I know, I'm a hack, but where I live, they don't sell Applejacks, so I cannot comment on the actual cereal itself. However, I can watch the commercials, and let me tell you, if the cereal tasted anything like the commercials, then it's deep. The premise of the commercials focuses on two characters. An apple, the commercials describe as a bad apple, who is meant to be the main antagonist, and a Jamaican stick of cinnamon called Cinnamon. Yep, it said that whenever somebody pours a bowl of Applejack cereal, the two aforementioned characters race each other to be the first into the bowl. During each race, however, Apple would attempt to sabotage Cinnamon's efforts, only for Cinnamon to completely pull a miracle out of his... Does Cinnamon even have an ass? And turn the tables on Apple. The reason? Well, I can't even believe this. Apparently, Applejacks don't taste like apples.
What kind of fuckery is this?
Since the taste of cinnamon
Is the winner, man.
So, yes, the commercials do follow a formulaic pattern, which at this point has probably got you thinking, Rayso, what in the hell and love joy are you on about when you say Applejack's lore is deep? I'll tell you how. This specific commercial is what starts the lore train rolling. In the middle of what we can assume is another typical race to the bowl, Apple bloody jumps out of a plane and accidentally lands on top of Cinnamon. With no way to dislodge themselves, the pair have to jump into the bowl together, giving Apple his first real time in the bowl and getting one over on Cinnamon, even if it is technically a tie. However, this isn't even a one-time occurrence. In fact, it has long-term consequences, as the two of them are still stuck together for the next few commercials. It's to coincide with a specific product called Applejack Crashers. I know, but still. Then they are unstuck shortly after, and in the following race, it's a tie, but Apple takes the result more gracefully, whereas before his defeats made him very salty, like a salted apple. It's the first time in Apple's career he has been on equal footing to Cinnamon, after years of being bested otherwise. Matter of fact, it appears as if Cinnamon and Apple's relationship has started to better develop. They may not have become full-fledged friends, but have definitely become civil rivals of sort. Matter of fact, Apple is no longer described in future commercials as a bad apple, like he previously was. He's now just Apple. In fact, Apple now starts beating Cinnamon to the bowl. One commercial has him thrash him, and at the end it's Cinnamon making defenses for the loss. But Apple is playfully not convinced. It's slow, but the relationship is sweetening, much like how a relationship between an apple and a cinnamon would usually work in the real world, the next part of the story has to deal with Apple and Cinnamon now being lost in New York after Apple builds a teleporter that ends up breaking and leaving them stranded. However, the incident is not without some positivity since the duo realize there are loads of Applejacks in the Big Apple. Get it? Funniest thing I've ever heard. Next, we hear about Applejack's apple clones that our two characters find, a cereal which features little red apple shapes, which is confusing, but okay. Hey, I never said this product was like revolutionary or probably even good, but things take a sharp left blooming turn. An apple is kidnapped. Oh no! And naturally, Cinnamon needs his audiences to help him find Apple. But of course, you can only do it with the first 16 digits of your parents' credit card, the name, the expiration date, and the 3 wacky numbers at the back. However, if you were one of those kids who did help Cinnamon out, then because of your altruism, the next commercial had Apple back and things resumed to normal, and the two have never felt closer. But then, the final commercial comes on, and it's a bittersweet one. Well, I suppose it is Cinnamon who would have that effect on people, but never mind. Cinnamon now has his own cereal called, well, Cinnamon Jacks, which tastes like cinnamon, I suppose, without the apples. Have you noticed something missing? Yeah, it's Apple. Apple's not even present for the final commercial. But that's okay, because at this point, the story is truly complete. What do I mean? Well, the final commercial before this one was Apple and Cinnamon truly becoming the best of friends. For them, racing to the bowl was no longer a competition of superiority. Win or lose, they both just enjoyed the thrill of getting in the bowl as equal. And after they jump in, it's like, let's go fight more. Apple's development is truly beautiful. He starts off nasty and rude, not particularly thinking of anyone else besides himself, because why not? He's clearly the coolest. But karma always catches up to him and forces him to lose. But he starts mellowing out over time through the commercials. Relationship with Cinnamon improves as well, as his attitude towards him is less nasty and more banterful, I suppose. And it's easy to see his frustrations. Like, seriously, what the hell is the point of calling a product Applejacks if they say it doesn't taste like apples? I'd be fuming too if a cereal didn't taste exactly like I do. But as the commercials go along, he seems willing to accept Cinnamon as part of a nutritious breakfast. Plus, by the end, it might be an even more deeper love. I've neglected to mention thank you, but it's not like he doesn't change either. Far from it. At the beginning, he's self-centered like Apple, just off to the bowl, but the commercials don't explicitly call him a bad cinnamon, since I guess he's more indifferent about things, but the point is he's fairly single-minded with his ambitions too, initially. However, he experiences some character development during the Stuck Together arc, and it also shows him becoming less self-centered and willing to do a good thing for Apple. On a side note, I never thought I would use the words story arc and Applejacks in the same sentence, but this is the world we live in. In fact, it comes to a climax when Apple goes missing, and Cinnamon wastes no time in trying to find him, but not before, of course, telling kids to ask their parents for permission. After all, make sure you ask your parents if you want to save your best friend. After he is found, it seems as if Cinnamon, deep down, truly treasures his friendship with Apple and realizes how much he cares about cereal. But realizing the two can't be together forever, he decides to get his own cereal. Of course, he makes sure to acknowledge the reason his legacy is so treasured by having Applejacks next to Cinnamon Jacks. They are both finally, truly equals, and Cinnamon knows this. In short, Apple and Cinnamon's relationship is beautiful, from starting as sworn enemies to civil rivals to kinda buddy-buddy to best friends. Applejacks has the deepest lore in commercial history, and for a product I have never heard of, let alone tasted before, that is a huge accomplishment.